Well, my old squad.
Back in 2020, I released a video ranting about the use of renewable energy, specifically talking about how they should be invested in and used. I came at it from a pragmatic point of view instead of a save the environment point of view, in that we're running out of oil. It's already happening. Look at fuel prices go up, people. But still, said people don't get it. And I know, I'm a tiny YouTuber, barely anyone saw that video, so my impact isn't even a drop in the proverbial bucket. But I'm not here to make a difference as much as I'd like to. I simply consider these videos to be a cathartic way to rant, hence why this video is called The Rant. It's a way to yell into the void about my frustrations, and if I get lucky, at least someone in the void will hear me and maybe even respond in the comments. So here's part 2 of that one rant I did all those years ago about fossil fuels and renewable energy. So to reiterate, fossil fuels in all their forms are running out faster than we can find them. The US government alone, according to a quick Google search, spent $757 billion on fossil fuel subsidies. Not fossil fuel infrastructure, not fossil fuel investments, or even fossil fuel search parties helmed by a ragtag group of adventurers. They spent it on subsidies. As for renewable energy, that spent a relatively measly $15.6 billion, less than 1%. And you know what? Maybe that's okay. Maybe less than 1% of that power grid is being powered by renewable energy. But it's not. You see, according to EIA, the US's energy consumption when it comes to renewable energy is more than 1%. It's more than 5%. Hell, it's more than 10%. It's 21%. If they were basing these subsidies off of how much energy they were producing, then renewable energy would be getting at least $100 billion in subsidies. But they aren't. Now, to be clear, fossil fuels as a whole is doing the majority of the heavy lifting. They're pulling 60% of the power load compared to renewables 21%, with nuclear making up 18% and other sources making up the minuscule rest. Now, keep in mind that in 2019, renewable energy was only contributing about 11 to 12% in the US. A 10% jump might not seem like much, but for a country with over 300 million people, that's a lot. Anyways, the idea of being paid more for doing the most work is nothing new. However, $700 billion is almost 50 times more than $15 billion. Have you ever worked on a project, done 20% of the work, and get paid almost 50 times less than the other guy who did 3 times more than you? Nobody is arguing that the guy working more doesn't deserve more money, but why almost 50 times more? If they provide, say, 3 times the value, aka 60% versus the 21% power thing, they should only be getting paid around 3 times more. The fact that renewable energy is still providing that much power with so much less subsidies is staggering. I mean, from a purely capitalist point of view, renewable energy and subsidies roughly costs $0.75 billion per 1% of power it provides to the American people, while fossil fuel requires slightly over $12 billion for each percent. Seriously, just think how much each power source would cost you, the consumer, without these subsidies. Seriously, just think about it as a cooking thing. Imagine you see a chef making meals for $120 for each person at a wedding. You do the math and figure out a way to make the exact same meal for $7.50, and you present the findings to your boss. You make a presentation with your findings, use some of your own money to make some of the dishes to demo, and everyone, including the boss, finds the quality, serving sizes, and appearance equal to the $120 meal. But then they go with the other chef anyways for reasons. Now, obviously, if fossil fuels disappeared tomorrow, renewables cannot possibly support the extra 60% no matter how much money is thrown at it. They literally don't have the infrastructure built yet, and while I might get upset and say something like, they should be investing in it, they kind of already are. Once again, 2019 they had 11 to 12% power going for America, and the most modern report says 21%, which is almost double in that time frame. And to that I say, good for you for trying to keep our lights on. Renewables are the way of the future. Now, before some idiot says something like, but renewable energies aren't good because sometimes clouds cover solar panels and wind stops blowing, I'm gonna just ask you one question. What are you, an idiot? Have you ever heard of batteries? The solar panels that they have are usually put in places where the sun shines for most of that time with little to no cover anyways, and when there is cover, the energy stored up in said batteries take over. It's such a dumb statement to make. It's like me saying, but gas isn't good for cars because we only refill them a few minutes at the petrol station every week and not while they're running. That's how dumb you sound. Of course this car doesn't get a constant injection of fuel 24/7 whenever it needs to run. It gets put into the fuel tank, which then powers the car, the same way batteries get topped up by renewable energy and then into whatever appliance you have. Doesn't matter if there are clouds or no wind around when you need to use electricity because you already have electricity stored from when there were plenty bits of sun and wind in the first place. Stop forgetting about batteries. They exist. Gah!